What's up, sports fans? Today is August 3rd, 2022. My name is Chris, and you are now rocking with Bets with MC Silly. In today's episode of Third and Long, we're going to be talking about 3 college football win totals that I absolutely love this year out of the Big Ten Conference. The first win total we're going to be looking at is the Indiana Hoosiers. The Hoosiers enter this season with a win total sitting at 4.5, shaded to the under at odds of -150. To put it bluntly, this Indiana team was atrocious last season. They were outscored by 25 points per game while losing all 9 of their Big Ten regular season contests. The offense, it was ranked in the mid-110s in terms of offensive production, while the defense was ranked 109th nationally in scoring defense, giving up 32.2 points per game. This year, the offense returns very little in terms of starters from last season, which could be a good thing considering how brutal they were last year. They were able to pry away Walt Bell for their vacant offensive coordinator position, and they landed transfer quarterback Connor Bazelak from Missouri. Bazelak threw for 2,549 yards and 16 touchdowns on a 65% passing accuracy. He'll need to find some chemistry with a host of new receivers and running backs as they return just one starter at the skill position. Defensively, they're going to have a very experienced secondary as they start 4 seniors, but are they going to make a jump to a respectable unit overnight? I highly doubt it. Indiana gave up 39 touchdowns and 11 field goals on 55 red zone trips by their opponents, which was a 90% scoring rate and ranked them 116th in the country. The one to watch defensively for the Hoosiers is Jalen Williams, who had 41 total tackles and 11 defended passes. If we look at their schedule from last year, it does them no favors. Last year, they had to face 6 teams ranked in the top 20 in their first 9 games. This year, not much better. They go to Cincinnati, host Michigan and Penn State, and travel to Ohio State and Michigan State. Those are 5 losses. Illinois in Week 1 is a toss-up. Idaho in Week 2 should be a win. Western Kentucky is a toss-up, and Nebraska is a likely loss, while Maryland, Rutgers, and Purdue are closer to losses than wins. I can't envision a scenario where they more than double their win total from last season with all the new pieces in place. Give me the under 4.5 wins for the Hoosiers at odds of -150. Next up on the win totals market is the Michigan Wolverines. The Wolverines enter this season with a win total sitting at 9.5 with -120 odds on both sides of the coin. Michigan was an extremely balanced team last year on both sides of the football, and they rode that balance to a 12-2 record. They finally got over the Ohio State hurdle in the season finale before trouncing Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. However, the college football playoff semifinals against Georgia saw them get run off the field in a lopsided 34-11 loss. With a program like Michigan, it's always national championship or bust. This year, the Michigan Wolverines return a ton of starters on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm willing to wager that they're going to be much more explosive in the passing game this season. Their key players on offense are going to be QB Cade McNamara and running back Blake Corum. McNamara threw for 2,576 yards and 15 touchdowns last season, and that was on a run-first team. They ran the ball 2% more than the average FBS team and averaged a 44.3% success rate on the ground with the 22nd most efficient rushing attack in the country. This year they bring back a ton of receiving weapons, and with a new offensive coordinator, the playbook should be opened up for McNamara to show his ability. Behind him, running the ball, Blake Corum will be the one relied upon to keep the defense honest and produce on the ground. He finished last season with 952 yards and 11 touchdowns despite battling an ankle injury down the stretch. Defensively, this team has a ton of new faces, but I expect those stepping up for the departed to excel under Jesse Minter's defensive schemes. If we look at their schedule, a 4-0 start is very likely, with wins against Colorado State, Hawaii, UConn, and Maryland coming on home soil. A trip to Iowa will be tricky, but the Hawkeyes don't have the offense to keep up with the Wolverines. We have Indiana going under the win total, so another win is in the cards for the Wolverines, making that 6-0 before hosting Penn State and Michigan State. If they can split those 2 games at home with a bye week in between, the Wolverines are 7-1 with games against Rutgers, home to Nebraska, and home to Illinois on deck. That's 10-1 before we get to Ohio State. So what's the play? Well, it's pretty obvious. We're going to take the Michigan Wolverines over 9.5 wins this year at odds of -120. And lastly, our final regular season win total out of the Big Ten comes from the Northwestern Wildcats. The Wildcats enter this season with a win total of 3.5, shaded to the over at odds of -150. If you really dig into the Wildcats season last year, it wouldn't be a shock to see them struggle the way they did. They were affected by COVID in a huge way, and with that a non-issue for the program, I expect them to take a giant step forward. Leading the way for the Wildcats will be running back Evan Hull. He was the workhorse out of the backfield, rushing for 1,009 yards and 7 touchdowns on a team that ranked poorly in terms of offensive output. He'll be relied upon again this year to produce, and he'll have the privilege of once again running behind Peter Skoronski, who is a projected first-round draft pick in next season's NFL Draft. Defensively, the Wildcats will need to be better at every level. They ranked 89th nationally in scoring defense and 119th nationally in stopping the run. They did rank 25th among FBS teams in terms of preventing the big play, allowing just 43 plays of 25 or more yards. They will need to be better on third down as well, giving up conversions on 44.9% of attempts with an average go-to-go distance of 6.03. The positive for the Wildcats on defense is they do have a ton of returning starters with players that have experience under their belt, and I expect them to take a leap in the right direction. If we look at their schedule, they open up with Nebraska in Dublin, Ireland, before returning home to face Duke, Southern Illinois, and Miami, Ohio. That should be a 3-1 start to start the season for the Wildcats, as each one of those teams is rebuilding. From there, the next winnable game comes against Maryland on October 22nd. If not then, the last 3 weeks of the season has the Wildcats going up against Minnesota, Purdue, and Illinois. I'm willing to bet they win one of those games to get to 4 wins, if not 5. With that said, give me the over on the Wildcats win total of 3.5 at odds of -150. That wraps up this edition of Third and Long. Let me know down in the comment section if you agree or disagree with any of the win totals we talked about today, or if you have any personal win totals that you're playing out of the Big Ten Conference this year. If you want more college football content through August and throughout the football season, drop a like and subscribe. On the next episode of Third and Long, I'm going to be giving you my best season win total bets from the SEC. As always, kicking is for losers.